Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching episode 6 of My Adventures with Superman. So, in the last episode, after Lois finds out the truth about Clark Kent and it seems that their relationship is over, they both still have to try to find Jimmy Olsen together. And turns out Jimmy Olsen was captured not by a Sasquatch and not by Gorilla Grodd, but Monsieur Mallah and the Brain. So as Jimmy finds out more about who Monsieur Mallah and the Brain are and what their experiments are like, turns out they decide not to cut the boy open, but instead they decide to show him around. We, Apparently they've been experimenting with mutants, which include the Loch Ness monster and a black hole that they're trying to transform into a wormhole by having it reach critical mass. They say that the Task Force X attacked them, which is why their black hole went unstable and destroyed part of a nearby mountain. But it's later made clear that they intentionally set that black hole off at one point. Meanwhile, Clark Kent and Lois Lane are try to save Jimmy, while they're also going through the forest and having to deal with a bunch of robots. Initially, we believe the robots were basically created as self-defense mechanisms by Mallah and the Brain, but turns out those robots aren't theirs. Plus, they're in an omega red sun field, which means because of Superman's weaknesses, his powers are weakened significantly in that field. Granted, he's still able to protect Lois and to keep on going despite that, but it's good to know that the showrunners know their stuff regarding Superman's weaknesses. It's not just kryptonite that he's weak to, it's also a red sun. I wonder if they'll include his weakness to magic too, because I know he's weak to that as well. Plus, I really do like the Brain and Mallah's relationship. I know there are other DC properties where they're portrayed more comedically, but here it really feels like they're good comrades, and maybe a little more, in a way that does make sense. Plus, the voice actors they got for both Brain and Mallah are pretty funny. Plus, I'm glad that they didn't drag out the whole issue that Clark had with Lois. I mean, they argue about it a bit in this episode, but they're able to basically reconcile by the end. Considering that Jimmy already knew who Superman was Clark for a while beforehand, and he just didn't bring it up because he figured it was a touchy subject, that makes a lot of sense considering how long Jimmy's been roommates with Clark, apparently. Again, Jimmy Olsen's one of the characters who's basically never figures out that Clark is Superman in most Superman canon. So I'm glad this is another thing that changed, and it does make this Jimmy seem a bit more clever than most of his counterparts. So yeah, Clark and Lois are back on okay terms with each other. Jimmy is safe. Mallah and the Brain decide to go through a wormhole to find a world where they can be accepted. And Dr. Ivo appears at the end and is in a heavily modified form to help out General Lane and Task Force X. So yeah, it seems that they're willing to work with a messed up billionaire in order to figure out a way to take down Superman. But then again, Task Force X and General Lane basically have no standards when it comes to what they won't do to take down our alien boy, so we'll see how that works out next week. It's a pretty good episode, and I'm glad that they're staying true to what Superman is while being able to put their own spin on it. See you next time.